Two Americans can be the same age, work for the same number of years, and pay into Social Security their entire working lives, and still have different answers to one very important question. When do you actually reach your full retirement age? The answer can change just because of the year you were born. If you were born in 1954, your full retirement age was 66. If you were born in 1955, it became 66 and 2 months. And by 1959, it was 66 and 10 months. Then, for people born in 1960 and later, it became 67. That change came from a law Congress passed in 1983. And if you've spent your entire life hearing people say, Social Security starts at 66, there's a good chance that number isn't actually your number. That's what we're going through today. 4 birth year groups, the rules that apply to each one, and a few things about Social Security that are surprisingly easy to miss. I started looking more closely at this after realizing how easy it is to get the basic number wrong. Someone can spend decades hearing 66 as the age when they get their full Social Security benefit, plan their retirement around that number, and never realize that their actual full retirement age depends on their birth year. And that's the part that matters. The difference isn't always a full year. Sometimes it's only a few months. But once you start talking about a benefit that can last for the rest of your life, a few months can matter. So that's what this is. 4 groups, sorted by the year you were born. Find yours. Listen to the 2 things that apply to you, and by the end you'll know your actual date and what to go check. Let's start with the oldest group, because that's where the real money is sitting. If you were born in 1954 or earlier, you're 72 or older, your full retirement age was 66, flat, and you passed it years ago. So on the surface, there's nothing left to think about. That's exactly what makes the first item so expensive. Here's one example that surprised me. The Social Security Administration's own Office of the Inspector General found that many widows and widowers who were entitled to both survivor benefits and their own retirement benefit had not been told about an important claiming option. In one audit, the Inspector General found that 82% of the people in its sample had not been informed about the option. The estimated underpayment was about $132 million for roughly 9,200 widows and widowers aged 70 and older. That's not a rumor from a financial website. That's an audit of the Social Security system itself. Here's the basic idea. Social Security doesn't simply stack your full survivor benefit and your full retirement benefit on top of each other. If you're entitled to both, the payment generally works out to the higher benefit, with the survivor benefit potentially making up the difference. But the order in which you claim can matter. So, if you've lost a spouse and you're receiving a Social Security payment today, it can be worth checking whether you're receiving the benefit amount you're actually entitled to. And this is one of those situations where a conversation with Social Security can be worth having. There's another rule worth knowing if you claimed Social Security before your full retirement age and kept working. Social Security can withhold part of your benefits if your earnings are above the annual limit. But those withheld benefits aren't simply lost. Once you reach full retirement age, Social Security recalculates your benefit to account for the months when benefits were withheld. So if you were working while collecting Social Security and noticed that some of your payments were being withheld, it's worth checking your record later to make sure the adjustment was made. If you were born between 1955 and 1959, roughly 67 to 71, you're the group that gets caught most often. Your full retirement age has months in it. When Congress raised the age from 65 to 67 back in 1983, they didn't flip a switch. They walked it up in 2-month steps, one birth year at a time. Born in 1955, 66 and 2 months. 1956, 66 and 4. 1957, 66 and 6. 1958, 66 and 8. 1959, 66 and 10. And that's why the exact year you were born matters. If you haven't claimed yet, there's another number worth knowing. Every month you wait past your full retirement age adds 2/3% to your benefit. That works out to about 8% a year, and the increase is permanent, but it stops at 70. Nothing accrues after that. If you're 70 and still holding off, there's no additional credit coming. If you were born between 1960 and 1964, roughly 62 to 66, this one's for you, and I'd pay attention. Your full retirement age is 67, not 66 and something. 67, flat. The phase-in ended with your birth year, so the gap between what you probably assume and what the law says is a full year. Now we get to one of the biggest decisions most people have to make with Social Security: when to claim. You can start as early as 62, but if your full retirement age is 67, claiming at 62 means receiving 70% of your full retirement benefit. That 30% reduction doesn't simply disappear when you reach 67. It generally stays with you. On the other hand, if you wait until 70, delayed retirement credits can bring your benefit up to 124% of your full retirement benefit. That's a big difference. But that doesn't mean everyone should wait until 70. For some people, waiting makes sense. For others, claiming earlier can be reasonable depending on their health, their other income, their savings, whether they're still working, and their family situation. The important thing is to understand what you're giving up, or gaining, before you choose a claiming age. There's one more rule that matters if you claim Social Security early and continue working. In 2026, if you're under full retirement age for the entire year, Social Security withholds $1 in benefits for every $2 you earn above $65,160. In that year, Social Security withholds $1 for every $3 you earn above the limit. Once you reach full retirement age, the earnings test goes away completely. You can earn as much as you want without having your Social Security benefits withheld because of your wages. And those withheld benefits aren't simply gone. When you reach full retirement age, Social Security adjusts your benefit to account for months when benefits were withheld. So if you're working while collecting Social Security, don't assume that money has disappeared. Understand how the earnings test applies to you and check what happens to your benefit once you reach full retirement age. Two Americans can be the same age, work for the same number of years, and pay into Social Security their entire working lives, and still have different answers to one very important question: when do you actually reach your full retirement age? The answer can change just because of the year you were born. If you were born in 1954, your full retirement age was 66. If you were born in 1955, it became 66 and 2 months. And by 1959, it was 66 and 10 months. Then, for people born in 1960 and later, it became 67. That change came from a law Congress passed in 1983. And if you've spent your entire life hearing people say, Social Security starts at 66, there's a good chance that number isn't actually your number. That's what we're going through today. 4 birth year groups, the rules that apply to each one, and a few things about Social Security that are surprisingly easy to miss. I started looking more closely at this after realizing how easy it is to get the basic number wrong. Someone can spend decades hearing 66 as the age when they get their full Social Security benefit, plan their retirement around that number, and never realize that their actual full retirement age depends on their birth year. And that's the part that matters. The difference isn't always a full year. Sometimes it's only a few months. But once you start talking about a benefit that can last for the rest of your life, a few months can matter. So that's what this is. 4 groups, sorted by the year you were born. Find yours, listen to the 2 things that apply to you, and by the end, you'll know your actual date and what to go check. Let's start with the oldest group, because that's where the real money is sitting. If you were born in 1954 or earlier, you're 72 or older. Your full retirement age was 66, flat, and you passed it years ago. So on the surface, there's nothing left to think about. That's exactly what makes the first item so expensive. Here's one example that surprised me. The Social Security Administration's own Office of the Inspector General found that many widows and widowers who were entitled to both survivor benefits and their own retirement benefit had not been told about an important claiming option. In one audit, the Inspector General found that 82% of the people in its sample had not been informed about the option. The estimated underpayment was about $132 million for roughly 9,200 widows and widowers aged 70 and older. That's not a rumor from a financial website. That's an audit of the Social Security system itself. Here's the basic idea. Social Security doesn't simply stack your full survivor benefit and your full retirement benefit on top of each other. If you're entitled to both, the payment generally works out to the higher benefit, with the survivor benefit potentially making up the difference. But the order in which you claim can matter. So if you've lost a spouse and you're receiving a Social Security payment today, it can be worth checking whether you're receiving the benefit amount you're actually entitled to. And this is one of those situations where a conversation with Social Security can be worth having. There's another rule worth knowing if you claimed Social Security before your full retirement age and kept working. Social Security can withhold part of your benefits if your earnings are above the annual limit. But those withheld benefits aren't simply lost. Once you reach full retirement age, Social Security recalculates your benefit to account for the months when benefits were withheld. So if you were working while collecting Social Security and noticed that some of your payments were being withheld, it's worth checking your record later to make sure the adjustment was made. If you were born between 1955 and 1959, roughly 67 to 71, you're the group that gets caught most often. Your full retirement age has months in it. When Congress raised the age from 65 to 67 back in 1983, they didn't flip a switch. They walked it up in 2-month steps, one birth year at a time. Born in 1955, 66 and 2 months. 1956, 66 and 4. 1957, 66 and 6. 1958, 66 and 8. 1959, 66 and 10. And that's why the exact year you were born matters. If you haven't claimed yet, there's another number worth knowing. Every month you wait past your full retirement age adds 0.2% to your benefit. That works out to about 8% a year, and the increase is permanent. But it stops at 70. Nothing accrues after that. If you're 70 and still holding off, there's no additional credit coming.